AskReddit by Vanti BTS. Reddit, what outrage over a celebrity was way overblown? Charlie Chaplin was labeled a communist and was told his re-entry to the United States would be subject to investigation into his political views. Charlie just decided never to come back to America. Once the documents became unsealed, it was revealed government officials had nothing on him despite publicly stating they did. Fucking McCarthyism ruined so many careers and lives over absolutely fucking nothing. https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Ross_abagliati. Canadians now board a gold in the men's giant slalom event at the 1998 Winter Olympics. The IOC initially stripped him of the medal due to a failed drug test for cannabis use but overruled by an appeals court 2 days later, resulting in the medal being restored. I remember the running joke on him was that the IOC became suspicious when they realized he was in fact a snowboarder. The dude, you're getting a Dell guy being a stoner. I mean, I could see that from a mile away. Weird, I always heard weed was a gateway drug. Anytime an actor was blacklisted for speaking up about abuse in Hollywood. Turns out Harvey Weinstein is a rapist and covered it up for years. No doubt Feldman and Haim were victims of someone with as much power as he had. Courtney Love let slip like 20 years ago in a random "let me stop you to ask a question" that no woman should attend an invitation from Weinstein. Deleted. When I first read about this, my heart bled for this guy. Can you imagine the extreme pride he felt being a hero? This is a childhood dream come true and all he was trying to do was his job. Then to have it all come crashing down around you because nobody likes an undeserved hero. The FBI, the media, the people all around him abandoned him. My eyes well up when I think of that perp walk because he literally thought they were taking him to ask him more questions about how much of a goddamned hero he was. The majority of pop idols' issues and scandals whatsoever, X. Smoking, dating, crying at a friend's funeral, etc. Crying at a friend's funeral! I know that community is rabid, but that's insane. Michael Phelps ripping a bong. I think Seth Meyers said it best, Dad, Michael Phelps is smoking weed. Does that mean I can after you win 8 gold medals? Sure. Roky Erickson, lead singer of the 13th Floor Elevators, got put in a psych ward for possessing a single joint of marijuana in 1969 Austin, Texas. He was subject to electroshock treatment in these facilities for 4 years. His mental state deteriorated greatly over this time frame. Based on the information that is out there, it's pretty safe to say that this incident drastically lowered his long-term quality of life. He was 22 years old when he was sent to the first facility. What the actual fuck? Howard Dean's scream. He was giving a talk to motivate his campaign workers. Was looking for this. A little extra context that illustrates how fucking stupid the whole dust-up was, from Wikipedia. The Dean Scream was a speech delivered by Vermont Governor Howard Dean on the 19th of January, 2004 at the Valair Ballroom in West Des Moines, Iowa. That night, the presidential candidate had just lost the Iowa caucus to John Kerry and wanted to reassure his supporters. He listed states he would win to a raucous audience before screaming "yeah" within 4 days. It was broadcast 633 times on national news networks and cable channels. The audio used in the airings of the scream was from Dean's unidirectional microphone, which decreased the volume of the background noise to the point where only Dean's voice was audible. This did not reflect the actual volume of the room that night, as the crowd was extremely loud. So they soloed his damn mic and then broadcast it ad nauseum until he was dead and buried. Great reporting, assholes. Janet Jackson's wardrobe malfunction. I remember seeing something about the letters that the FCC received complaining about that. It led to regulatory changes on broadcasters, so it was a pretty big deal. After the dust settled, some journalists through a Freedom of Information Act got their hands on the complaints, and it turned out that if you lumped all of the form letters that were sent at the behest of some mega church together, there were very few complaints outside of it, somewhere around a dozen. For those who remember it, Jessica Simpson being a totally healthy adult weight after having a baby compared to her tiny teenage heavily controlled pop star weight. Names like Jumbo Jessica for a woman who was a size 4, and tying her entire worth to that. Not even counting the crazy fucking hate boner Eminem had for her. George Michael being asked by an undercover cop if he wants to see his thing, he said sure. So everyone found out he was gay, and that was a huge no-no. Gay meant pervert back then. Really sad, and he never recovered mentally. Pisses me off. Just wasn't fair. I saw George Michael discussing his bathroom bust, and his only comment was, "What can I say? I never turned down a free meal," and laughed his ass off. I thought that was awesome. Just yeah, fuck off. I'm an adult gay man having fun in a private space. David Bowie saying he was bisexual in an interview. It really ended up hurting his career in the US. I can't imagine anyone really looking at Bowie in the 70s thinking, yes, I am certain this man is 100% heterosexual. Then again, people were agog when Betty White confirmed that Liberace had been gay. Paul Rubens masturbating in a porn theater in 1991. It was a porn theater and there was no reason for it to affect his career. Fred Willard too. Why do we care? I've never been in one of those theaters. I assume that's what would be going on in there. Are they just supposed to memorize it to the spank bank for later? That seems way crazier to me. When the female soccer player won and took off her shirt and had a sports bra under it. My god, you would have thought all of the world just witnessed their first look at a stomach. I vaguely remember someone pointing out that what a lot of people claimed to take issue with, why take off your shirt to celebrate a win, was actually common for male players to do. It just never got massive media coverage. Sinead O'Connor calling out the Catholic Church over the abuse of minors. How dare she? I recently did a couple weeks long deep dive on the Catholic sex abuse scandal, and holy shit, that scandal is way worse than I ever realized. It even led to murder in some cases to silence people. The church is run more like the mafia than a religious organization. Britney Spears when she had her meltdowns. The woman was bullied and harassed at such an insane level, it would make anyone snap. We all mocked the Leave Britney Alone video, but they were right. Obama being distracted and not returning a salute. https://yahoo.be/np7lobdibk close bracket from a Marine while boarding Marine 1, despite immediately going back down the stairs to acknowledge the guy and shake his hand. Idiots at the time claimed the pilot wouldn't let him board, as if any serving officer would end their career disrespecting the commander-in-chief, who as a civilian was under no obligation to return a salute in the first place. Also the time Obama did salute, but had a coffee cup in his hand. It's always people who aren't in the military who get worked up about this shit, while people in the military are like, huh, I miss salutes all the time. What's the big deal? Obama's brown suit. Michelle Obama wearing a sleeveless dress. Remember when Jessica Simpson wore that hideous outfit and every news outlet everywhere talked about how huge she was and how much weight she had gained, and she was like 105 pounds? Yet everyone was outraged that she was so huge, and not that these crazies were calling a 105-pound woman huge. I recently posted to our low seat asking women my age how the early 2000s affected their body image as teens. Lots of mentions of famous pop stars, JS included. About 500 comments now and lots of insight on that time period and how it affected women today. The Chicks, formerly Dixie Chicks, and the whole thing with George W. Bush. That was a huge in the country music industry. Remember when everyone on the internet was compelled to hate an admittedly strange woman? https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Carol_Baskin because meth addict with a tiger collection. https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Joe_exotic alleged that she killed her husband, but no one seemed mad at him for trying to kill her. Everybody locked in their house collectively watching Tiger King was one of the more bizarre moments in human history. Any female celeb who was shamed for existing. Anne Hathaway when paparazzi took and published an upskirt photo when she was exiting a car. Miley Cyrus for legally smoking salvia with her friends in her home. Or when a world famous photographer took a photo that the media deemed whorish, despite it not being her idea and she was a kid and was covered. Britney Spears for being a human and not perfect, etc. The media is hard af on women for just being human. Elizabeth Olsen not tweeting or acknowledging it in social media after Chadwick Boseman died. I didn't even know this was a thing. I always felt bad for Vanessa Hudgens. She had her private photos stolen, posted all over the internet, and then she had to apologize for it. Eddie Murphy and the sex worker. Huge scandal at the time, but in retrospect, who cares? Hugh Grant completely agrees. That guy who didn't become president because he yelled "yeah." Bye. Monica Lewinsky America did her dirty. Britney Spears accidentally flashed her vaginal getting out of a car once. She shaved her head and got in a fight with some paparazzi. This was evidently enough for the tabloids to convince the general public she was so batshit insane that she should lose her basic human rights and work as her father's slave for 13 years. Is it really flashing if multiple cameras are right there waiting for the perfect angle to put her vaginal on the internet? No doubt that Martha Stewart was accused of insider trading and put in prison, yet every politician in Washington become millionaires from insider information. The amount she made was minuscule compared. She kinda got a thug nasty personality from it and street cred for not being a snitch and was more successful post-prison. Monica Lewinsky. She was 22. Bill Clinton was 49. She was an intern. He was the president of the United States. When the woman she thought was her friend outed her, Clinton denied it and tried to gaslight the world. She was called every name in the book, and by some at that time, she was the most hated woman in America. He held the highest office in the nation, was married with a child, but the world was focused on what she did wrong. Absolutely fucking disgusting. He was the monster. She was 22? Christ, I would have pegged her as in her early 30s at the time. I was a teenager for context. Deleted. I think the scandal was that he was married to or dating or living with Elizabeth Hurley, who is an absolute smoke show. Miley Cyrus choosing to go rated R NSFW years after starring in Hannah Montana. There's such a ridiculous amount of pressure on child actors to remain pure like they become adults and can do whatever the hell they want. I feel bad how all the dumb things that they do in their late teens early 20s is publicized. Like whose late teens and early 20s isn't full of dumbass decisions when ridiculous amounts of pressure is put on them. The weird outrage 20 years later about Hilary Swank portraying Brandon Tina. I didn't realize there was retrospective outrage about that. I mean, get mad that contemporary descriptions of the film referred to Tina as a butch lesbian, sure, but trans visibility in the 90s, unfortunately, was not sufficient that a trans actor would have been cast without the studio flipping their shit. I remember some grumbling about David Duchovny reprising his role as Agent Denise Bryson on Twin Peaks, who in the third season revival was now FBI brass and fully transitioned. For one thing, the Denise character was damn progressive in 1991. even when likely limited in many aspects by the studio, that is alluded to more as a transvestite than a transgender person. Also, it's not like David Lynch wouldn't ask Duchovny back. Aziz Ansari's bad date. Yep. One of those where even if you take everything the accuser said as 100% true, it's still a big so what? Michael Phelps smoking weed, you'd think he killed somebody with a backlash that he got LMAO. Janet Jackson's lip slip. The tan suit. I thought Obama not wearing a flag pin on his lapel was the most ridiculous talking point I had ever heard. Then this happened. The hoopla over that was straight up ridiculous. If I were him, I'd have started wearing a hoodie and blue jeans to press briefings, just to watch the reaction. TBH, most of them. Celebrities are not supposed to be role models but entertainers. Their job is to entertain, not be some sort of perfect humans without flaws. Charles Barkley did a commercial once themed on the sentence "I am not a role model." Jenna Ortega taking a cigarette and drinking wine. Everyone clamoring over her being the kick-ass new bad girl on the scene and then immediately outraged when she did the most tame bad girl stuff. She's a fucking adult, you infantilizing prudes. Pee Wee Herman masturbating in the porno theater. I get that's not great form, but it's a porno theater. What else is he supposed to do there?